Hello everyone, this is Julia. Thank you so much for joining me on my craft room adventures. And today I'm back for day 3 of my 2020 holiday card series. This is also a challenge card with my friend Lien, and this time it was the challenge to use the Party on a Farm stamp set by Hello Bluebird. I started out by die cutting 4 hill panels and also just a slimline background panel, and I'm ink blending that with tumbled glass and broken china. As you can see up top, I also stamped out the farm background from a Hello Bluebird. I just used the top part that has the farmhouse or the barn on it. And I'm just seeing where how far I need to come down with the ink blending. Now, in full disclosure, this is a really old challenge. We actually came up with it, or at ended months ago, like back in summer. It was August, I think. But then I had the trouble with my neighbors, and then I moved, and she was so patient with me, waiting on me. I told her she could post it anyways, but she said that she would wait until I have my card ready too. So today is finally the day. And I'm so happy because now I'm already making holiday cards, so I just turned it into a Christmas party on the farm card. I just used some shimmer spritz on the hills just to add some shine because it's snowing on the farm. I stamped out my images from the Oak Christmas Tree stamp set and the Party on the Farm, and the Christmas lights are from the Merry Mice stamp set. And I'm just using my Copic markers to color them. I'm laying down my darkest shade, which is the YG67, and I just flip the image around because I find it easier to color trees that way, like Christmas trees. Also laying down the same shade on the little shrubs, which in my case are just evergreen, you know. They wouldn't be like green in winter, but on my farm they are evergreen trees. That would be nice. Now I'm just blending that out with G24, just going over the edges. And I'm making sure not to pull out the color too far because I want to leave some light areas that would indicate that the tree is covered in snow. Blending that out with a G21. Again, not going down too far. Adding some flicks further down the tree branches. And as my lightest shade, I'm using G20. Also just blending that out, leaving the tips of the Christmas tree branches white or really, really light. I'm just gonna add some shine there to indicate snow. And I'm also going to use the G20 on my evergreen trees, also leaving a little bit of white there. For my gray colors on my farm, I'm using E40 markers. I'm using E44 for the fence, and I'm also using the same color combination for any other brown combo on the card. Blending that out with E43, and for the trees, just like for this fence, I'm only adding one layer of color because I wanted to keep it light and not add too much shading. This was going to be, or this is going to be on the bottom of the card, and I just didn't want it to stand out as too dark. Blending that out with E41 and then E40. For my pig, I'm using E11. I'm basically using my normal skin tone combination for Caucasian skin, just the E11, then blending that out with E00. And then going in with E000. And for this, I did use 2 layers. Now I'm going back in with the E11 just to add a little bit more definition on all the areas that I wanted to be darkest, where there would be natural shading like the back leg or below the arms, and also on the little sheep beneath the little fringe. Then I'm using E00 again to blend out the E11. Also adding the E11 and the E00 to the snout. And then blending everything together with the E000. Again, I forgot to color in the second layer on the sheep. And now blending everything together with E000. Like I mentioned, also using the E44 and E43 for all the hooves on my animals. There we go with the E43. Not doing really any shading there because the area is just so tiny. For the sheep, I'm using W3 as my darkest shade, just adding a little bit down because I wanted it to be mostly grayish white. Then I'm going in with W1, just blending that out a little bit, and then blending that together with W00. And to add a little bit more interest, I'm using some dots with the W3 marker, just where I added any of the shading. And I'm using the same color family for the remaining critter. I'm using W5 as my darkest shade, just making him a little bit darker. Then blending that out with W3. Then W1, just to pull out the color a little bit further, but I also didn't want him to be too dark. And then blending that out with a W0 instead of the 00 on the sheep. And then I realized I forgot to color in the arms of my little goat. I wasn't quite sure how to color the horns. I tried to color them in gray, but I didn't like it. So I just took the colorless blender and removed some of the color, and then went over it with the skin tones, just to give it a little bit of warmth, and I like that a lot better. Now I'm also adding some of the dot details with the W5 on my little goat. And then for my little chickies, I'm using Y28, YR23, and I just decided to use that combination because I thought it would work great for Christmas. This is my go-to gold Copic combination. I just used the two darkest shade very, very sparingly. Again, going in as my darkest shade with the YR23. Then blending that out with Y15. Making sure not to pull those dark colors out too far because I wanted to be wanted it to be fairly light. I'm blending that out with Y11. And then going in with Y00. And finally blending the lightest areas with Y000. I'm using the same color combination except for the two lightest shade for the star because I wanted it to be like a bronzy gold. Again, using the Y28, YR23, now with a Y15, and Y11 as my lightest shade. Again, going in for a second layer to add a little bit more depth. The Y28, then YR23, Y15, and finally the Y11 again. And I also used the same colors as I used for all of the other images for the Christmas lights. The green and the yellow, I mean. Now I'm going in with some warm gray markers for the detailing on the farm, for the roof, and the little tower, going in with W7, now W5, then blending that out with the W3, and I made sure to leave the tops also fairly light because that would be covered with a little bit of snow as well. Also coloring in the frame for the window. Blending out the W5 with the W3. And then going in with W1 as my lightest shade. Bringing in a little bit of W0 on the tower. Or, I'm not actually sure what that one's called. Sorry. Adding a little bit more of the dark gray for the detailing, just to make sure it does still stand out against the dark red that I will be adding. So I'm starting with the R89, and here I'm not the neatest colorer, but here I really tried very hard to stay inside the lines, because if you color over this, it's game over. No amount of colorless blender in the world is gonna save that. So I just made sure to carefully stay inside the lines, because I did not want to start over at this point. So then I'm blending out the R89 with R39, and I really like this combination for like a deep Christmas red. Just blending out all of the edges, pulling in the color a little bit further. And then going in with R29, going over all of the areas just to give it more of a warm red tone. Leaving a little bit of a highlight area next to the window and also next to the doors and on the little side of the barn. And now I'm bringing in R14, which is obviously a lot lighter than the R29, but I needed a bit of a highlight shade, so I'm just coloring that in. And now I'm going in with a tip-to-tip technique between the R14 and the R29, just to blend those together while still leaving a little bit of a lighter area on my image. Just blending those colors back and forth until I'm happy with the blend. Using the same colors on my ornaments, I'm adding a little bit of a curve shape with my darkest shade, not going all the way to the edge. I saw that on an image lately on Instagram, and I really liked the way that it made the ornament look dimensional. So I make sure to leave a little bit of a white gap on my ornaments, then blending that out with R39 also on my Christmas hats. Blending that in towards the center of the ornament with the R39, not coloring the edge, like I said, also going in with the same color for my little Christmas lights. Then I'm blending that out with R29 and just leaving a white border basically all around the ornament. Off camera, I also colored the tops of the ornaments in the same yellow combination that I used on the other images. Also using the R29 on my Christmas hats with a little bit of a highlight area. And now I'm just going over everything with the R14. Here I'm not even bothering doing the tip-to-tip technique because I wanted there to be quite a big difference, and I really like how this turned out. And for the Christmas hat, since the areas are a bit larger, I'm doing the tip-to-tip technique between R14 and R29 again. I used the Bring on the Merry stamp sentiment from Hello Bluebird, and I will link to I will list the stamp sets that I'm using down below. And I'm just heat embossing that in Metallic Platinum by Wow. I'm just using a brush to remove any of the excess embossing powder, and I did go over it with a anti-static powder tool. Off to the side, my heat gun was already heating up, so it's nice and hot before I take it to the paper. And I'm just melting the embossing powder until it's smooth and shiny. I'm adhering all my images down flat with liquid glue because there's so much going on the scene and I didn't want to overload it, so to speak, because I'm also adding a lot of glitter. Not like I don't always add a lot of glitter, but this one has more than usual, I think. I'm just using tape runner to adhere on my hill panels because I like that I'm able to move it if I have to, which I have to in about a second, because I realized that the top panel wasn't lined up with the side of the card base. So I'm just pulling that up carefully and laying them down again, just so that the edges match up nicely. And then I'm just adding the final two pieces. The bottom piece has my sentiment on it. And I'm so proud of myself that I remembered to stand the sentiment before adhering everything, which I usually completely forget. I wanted the little piggy to hold the star for the top of the tree, and I'm just using a craft knife to cut some slits where the arms are. I'm sorry that my hair is poking in there, but I'm just cutting that out with the craft knife so that I could put the star in his arms. I also added the Santa hats to the chicken and to the sheep, and I just cut off the white edge on the bottom just so that it looks like a continuous image and doesn't look like you adhere the die cut on top of another die cut. I always like that look. Now I'm decorating my fence. The little chickie is hanging up the Christmas lights on the fence, and I'm just adhering him to the back of the fence. I'm adding a little ornament to the other chickie's beak and also to the hand of the sheep. And like I said, the piggy is already holding the Christmas star. I'm adhering the fence down first because that will determine how much room I have for the rest of the images, and I wanted there to be enough space for the sentiment. I added the tree in the center, and then I'm just gluing all my other images down with some liquid glue. I wanted the pig to be slightly behind the tree, the sheep to be in front like it's just walking up to the tree to hang ornaments, just like the little chicken, and I wanted the goat to be behind the other chicken, just super happy that it's Christmas time and they're finally getting to decorate the tree. Just adding some ornaments, like the tree is almost finished. They're getting ready to hang the last ornaments and put the tree on top. Just using a pair of tweezers to make sure the ornaments are straight. Now, since it's winter, I wanted to add some snow, and I wanted it to be basically on top of all of the images, that it's like a bright snowy day. And I'm just using the bleed proof white from Dr. P.H. Martin's with some water and a small paintbrush just to add some splatters all over everything. Now I'm using the Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen in glitter gloss just to add some shine to some of the elements where I wanted, some added sparkle. All of the ornaments, the Christmas lights. Now I'm using the Nuvo Crystal Glaze just to add some dimension on the windows on the farm and also to the ornaments on the tree and the Christmas lights. And I added quite a generous amount on that because I wanted there to be a lot of dimension on those. And I'm sorry, my head keeps poking in this time. Then I'm using the Stardust stickles on the Christmas hats and also on any of the areas that I wanted to look like they have snow on them, like the top of the farm, the trees, the Christmas trees, and also the top edge of the field in the background, and on the branches, of my Christmas tree. I also added some crystal glaze on the top of the star, and here I'm just adding the Stardust stickles to the top of my farm piece. And that finishes off my card for today. I really hope you enjoy this one. I had a ton of fun making it, and if you're watching, thank you, Lien, for waiting so patiently for me. I will link to her video down below. I'm sure it will be amazing. Obviously not Christmas themed because she was on time and made hers like months ago, but I'm sure it will be amazing, so please go check it out. There are still a few hours left to enter my little giveaway on the day one of my holiday card series if you want to go check that out. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Please stay safe and healthy, and hopefully until next time. Bye!